Propose we do it every Friday.
All right, so here we are. We're talking now. We started the Sichot speech of the Rebbe because we finished the Likuti Torah, and the speech is talking about that it says on Mount Sinai that when the Jews heard the Ten Commandments, and that's what we talk about in this week's Torah portion. It repeats the Ten Commandments. So it says that there was a big voice and it didn't stop. So it says this big voice and it didn't stop. What does it mean? So it says there's three meanings. Number one, all the prophets were just saying this. All the prophets that came in all the generations, including all of the Talmidei Chachamim, all of the wise men of the Talmud, and anyone who says a law or a statement of the Torah that is true, it's just a continuation of the Ten Commandments that God given on Sinai. Because those Ten Commandments never stopped. And they were never stopped. So it came out to all the prophets. Explanation number one. Explanation number two. The voice was divided into 70 voices for all the nations of the world. In telling us that what? Thus Zelba, the same thing is relevant to the big voice, which was divided into 70 voices. The non-Jews in the world, the non-Jews in the world, it divided into 70. The non-Jews, they are obligated to do what's called the 7 Noahide commandments. But they're not obligated to do it only because Noah said. A Yid, they have to do the 7 commandments. A Jew has to also convince them in the days when we're not the Jewish people. Anyway, we should convince them that the non-Jews should do the commandments, these 7 commandments, right? But not only because they're logical, which they are to a certain degree. In other words, before Noah received them, Adam received 6 of them. And they go according to a person's conscience. In other words, non-Jews know that murder is bad. They feel it in their soul. It's a conscience. Murder is bad. Stealing is bad. Homosexuality is bad. They know these things. They feel it. Idolatry is bad, but they also like these things. And so it's not really powerful enough, their conscience, to overcome their desires or their preferences. So came along Noah, and God strengthened these commandments. He even added on one. You're not supposed to eat a limb that was taken from an animal before the animal died. So he added on another one, and this gave it a little more power. And that's why the non-Jews are called the sons of Noah. They have the power to defy the world and listen to their conscience, listen to these commandments. But that also wasn't enough. And when God gave the Torah, he strengthened it even more when he gave the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments permeated the whole world. And that's what it means. It permeated also the non-Jews, that non-Jews should not think that the reason for these 7 commandments is a side thing, a religious thing. You want to be religious, you do it. Was hat nit men mit matan Torah, that it has nothing to do with the giving of the Torah. Now, the giving of the Torah was not a religious experience. I mean, it also was it was everything experience. But who gave the Torah? The creator of the universe. And we stress over and over again that the creator of the universe is creating everything right now. He began to create the world. He began to create time. Time began 5,700 years ago. Not to go into all the philosophical aspects of it. Here we're talking about God that creates everything, me, you, everything, every molecule, every unit of consciousness, whatever. God is creating everything now. All the angels, all the spirits, everything. The God of the Jews is creating everything. He's the creator. He's creating everything constantly, every single moment. And that same God cares about what we do. So if you look out in the street and you see there's the sky, the sidewalk, you see maybe a squirrel, an animal, those things aren't religious, but they're being created by God. So when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, he gave a reason for his constant creation of the world, why you're being created, why you're here. So a non-Jew should not think that these seven Noahide commandments, this is, a certain, that you say, a system of values, a certain system of ethics, right? That if you want to adhere to it, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Take it or leave it, right? You want to have a better life, you want to go to heaven, you do these things. You don't want to, you don't do it. What do I care about going to? Says that's not the point. The point is that the whole reason for existence right now, now we're talking about what's going to be tomorrow. We're not talking about reward or punishment. Reality comes from these seven commandments, doing what God wants. That's why it says called Gadol V'lo Yosef. The voice of Mount Sinai was divided into 70 languages, that also these commandments from the 70 languages, namely all of the non-Jews in the world, you should know that they come from the Creator. A big voice. And therefore, when they do their seven commandments, the non-Jews, and that's seven commandments are only the prohibitions, but there's also, they say 30 positive ones, even more. So they do it, they not just doing it because these are the commandments of God. I mean, I should, nit nor darfen ze mekayim zayin, the mitzvahs mitzad tzivu Hashem, not because of the commandment of God, or nit val der seichla, not because it's logical to do so, but even more, ze darfen das mekayim, they have to do val azoy hat der Eibishter angezocht in the Torah, because God says it in the Torah. Not just because God told Noah or God told Abraham or God, he's even telling me, my conscience, because God gave it in the Torah to the Jewish people, and he let everyone know by means of Moses that the Bnei Noach, that the non-Jews, they have to do all the seven Noahide commandments in the Torah. And the idea, and this knowledge is relevant also to the Jews. A Jew has to try to convince, and whatever he can, to the non-Jews as much, or influence, as they zone, that they should do the seven Noahide commandments. They should do the seven commandments. Sein sehr sieben mitzvahs über dem, was der Eibishter hat angesagt, because this is what God told to Moses on Mount Sinai. So in other words, not only because it's logical, and not only because that's what my conscience says, and not only because God told Noah, those things are true, but the main reason is that when God spoke on Mount Sinai, that voice permeated all time, including all the fiber of every non-Jew's soul, the commandment. Another thing is why it was divided into 70 languages, because it's known that the Jewish people were scattered around the world in order to add what's called gerim, converts. And we're talking about converts is not human being converts to Judaism. It's talking about the sparks of godliness, which are scattered around the world. Gerim, it means the sparks of holiness, which are found in the physical things by the non-Jews. And by means of this, that Jews are in exile, so therefore they can purify the world. They can add what's called gerim. They can add on from the world, that the world becomes holy. Like God, the third Rebbe of Chabad said, make here Jerusalem, right? Make here the land, holy land. I was Hasidim, and it was in Ukraine. So I want to go to Israel. So listen, Israel is a good thing. Everybody's going to go Moshiach, but first of all, make here Israel. Everything has to be holy. The sparks of holiness, which the Jews purify and refine by means of doing holy things wherever they are. And that's what they're called, gerim. That's what's all called converts. Namely, they take the sparks of holiness, which are among the worldly things, among the non-Jews, and by means of this, by using them for, and also using the 70 languages of the non-Jews, then they can, 1 minute, let's go, just 1 second. I'm going to turn the page. Oh. All right, let's see. So it says also by learning the Torah in these different languages where you're in France. There's a fellow in Kfar Chabad that translates the Torah different things of the Torah into Arabic, into the Chinese, they say Japanese. Okay, a person can think that the Torah, which we learn now in the 70 languages, that it's not exactly the same holiness as the Torah that was given in Mount Sinai, right? And logically, Hebrew is the holy language. And it says no, that this big voice which they heard at Mount Sinai was divided into 70 languages, that it came down and was clothed in the lowest garments that there could be. But the inside of this voice, even though it comes out to be French or German or whatever it is, Swahili, whatever the language is, that was in the 70 languages, could be, is the same as the voice that was heard on Mount Sinai, Anochi, I. And it was just like the Jews heard on Mount Sinai, every word their souls jumped out, should be that when a Jew learns the Torah in whatever language he's learning in, you should feel inside of that same spark of godliness. Because everything that's the high voice of God, the holy, high, holy voice of God, could come down lower and lower into the world. Okay, says the Rebbe, this is all an explanation. This is all an explanation of the first two. We said that the word, the 10 commandments, they came down to all the prophets and all the rabbis that say words of Torah, that they're the same voice that comes from Mount Sinai, and also to the non-Jews that they can do the 7 Noahide commandments. They have the power from the giving of the Torah. Okay, but what about this thing about that there is no echo? What does that mean? The Rebbe says, what is an echo? An echo is, let me just make this a little bit bigger. What did I do here? What is an echo? An echo is a returning, bouncing off. What do they got about? It bounces off something. Or choser. Like a mirror. You look in a mirror, the light comes back. Well, if you yell something out and there's a mountain or something, as the voice comes back. Okay, the Rebbe says usually an echo, the stronger the voice, the stronger the echo. Stronger the voice, the stronger the echo. I'm just paraphrasing what it says here. Strong, why? Because the stronger the voice, when it hits something, it comes back. When God said, I am God, your God, this was a tremendously powerful voice. Nothing in the world could stop it. It permeated the whole entire world. Also, it permeated even the physical. Usually, a powerful voice makes a powerful echo. But here, God's voice was so powerful, and you have to remember, it came from the creator of the universe. It's not just an additional thing. Sound is not the same thing as mass, right? You have a wall, and you have a sound waves hit the wall. Sound waves are made of a different stuff, if you want to call it, or at least they have a different nature than the wall does. But when God spoke, that was being. The whole being, and wall is a being, and the world is being. It exists. Time exists. Space exists. Everything in the world, when God spoke, his voice was so powerful that everything hat in sich eingesapt in durch, everything was soaked up and permeated with the voice of Anochi. Because by the giving of the Torah, there was revealing all of the revelation, past, present, future, everything. Time is just a creation. So when God spoke in Mount Sinai, the Creator was revealed in every aspect of his creation, including everything in the future. Then as Ven Nigla, that was revealed, the glory of God, on Mount Sinai, it says all flesh saw God, saw. This will be revealed in the future redemption. Ro'o kol basar, everyone in the world will see and feel what happened in Mount Sinai. As they're dealing with the revelation of the glory of God will, how do you say, it'll embrace, and it will be imbued even in the physical flesh. Und the Rebbe, so therefore, will, according to nature, nicht gekannt, kein Bat Kol, there couldn't be any echo because everything is made from godliness. So when God spoke, there was nothing else to bounce it back. Lo Bat Kol, there wasn't any echo. Nitzulib Chalishu is not because God's voice was so weak, exactly the opposite. Because God's voice was so strong, therefore, nothing could stop it. Lo Yasaf. This is not a miracle. This was nature. Wenn sie is nicht kein upgalt, when nothing could stop, or verstel, or how do you say, something that's stopped, or something that impeded a voice, so naturally there's no echo. So God's voice in this case was the creative power of creation, and nothing could stop the power of creation. Everything is being created by it. So therefore, the laws of nature say that if there's a voice and there's nothing to stop that voice, so there's no echo. Nothing bounces back. The M is really also with this, it's the same thing. When a Jew learns Torah, so really the voice of the words of the Torah, this embraces not only this person who's learning, but also the walls where, and the house where he's in. Like it says, Kos Beitenu Shel Adam, it says that the walls of a person's house will testify on him if he learned Torah or not. Because even now, when a person learns the Torah, this has an effect, a permanent, eternal effect on everything. The Torah is the truth. And therefore, Zayin Faran Chilukim, and there's different laws. For instance, regarding sinius, how do you say, modesty, the chastity. Si men tut azach b'chedre chedorim, there is, in laws, there's differences. There's sometimes when a person, it's okay, you can take off your clothes, you're going to the bathhouse, you can take off your, but you're not in the streets. There's difference. But in the future, la'atid, velen ze vent, the vent, un ba klans bal kans arois shrayan. It says in the future, your walls and the floor, they will yell out, I am the wall, and I'm yelling out, it says in the future, nowadays there's differences. In the laws, there's differences, right? So the wall can hide a person, for instance. But when learning the Torah is not that way. Learning the Torah permeates everything, so there's nothing that can stop it. There's nothing that can stop what it is. So it says even the walls, even your floor will testify to all the words of Torah that you said. And from this revelation in the future will be something like we can feel also now. There's big tzaddikim. It says that they were, it's said about them that, one second, how does this go? Here we go. In the Rishomi, it says that there was one of them that the stick, one of the elders in the time of Rabbi Meir, he said that the staff of Rabbi Meir, he held onto it and it taught him knowledge. At first glance, you can say, how can a stick, a walking stick, how can it give him knowledge? But because when Rabbi Meir learned all the same with all the Tanaim that they call the, how do you say, they call them the Pharisaites, right? The fact of the matter is they were tremendously holy people. They had the ability to raise the dead. It says even the physical things, for instance, the stick of Rabbi Meir, it absorbed the holiness that he had, because Rabbi Meir, it absorbed the holiness, as therefore then arumim b'shas learning vi geredet freer. So therefore the staff that he had actually, how do you say it exude. It emanated it emanated wisdom. The Torah was inside of the stick that he learned, because the whole idea of the Torah is to permeate the whole entire physical world. How do we get that power? On Mount Sinai, that is the power that nothing can stop it. When this old man, when he held onto the stick of Rebbe Meir, so suddenly, all of a sudden, there was revealed all the wisdom that was in the stick. The Rebbe said that's also the reason why that a lot of great holy men, that they wanted the coffin that they were buried in to be made from the wood of the table that they learned on. Should be made from the table that they learned on, because the table was imbued and would testify to them, for them, on the Torah that they learned. Okay, what is the teaching for this? What are we learning? All of the revelations that are going to be in the future, they come from our service, what we do now. Excuse me one moment. On our service of God that we do now. Now we have to try, make an effort, as the Torah which we learn, Zolim Durach Nemen, should, how do you say, conquer us totally. Biz Sudem Chelik Adomim Shabadam. Even the lowest aspects of a person, his shoes, the buckle on his belt, the house that he lives in, Azoivi Kalolos, like the whole entire creation, is divided into, generally speaking, 4 categories: mineral, plant, animal, and human. So also by a person. A person is a small world. So a person also has the head, that's the man part of man, human. The emotions usually are called the plant part of man. The domim, that's like the heels of a person, the person's deeds. The Torah that we learn now should permeate even our heels. That's next week's Torah portion. Ekev asher tishmon, like asher Shema Abraham, like it says by Abraham also. Ekev, because Abraham listened to my voice. Ekev means also the heels. That also the heels of Abraham listened to what God said. So this is already outside of the realm of religion. We're talking about reality. When Al Derech Vi, like it says by Matan Torah, just like when the Torah was given, there was a great voice, the 10 Commandments, this permeated also the physical world. Therefore, they took also the physical part of man. 1 second. There was a big voice and it didn't stop. There was a voice without any limits. Varum, because the spiritual and physical seem to be opposite, right? The physical world cannot be, you can't reveal spiritual. And also in spiritual, it can't permeate into the physical, right? A person can't go up to heaven in his body. There was, it says that there were 9 examples of people that went into heaven without dying. Okay, there were examples, but this is very weird, right? Very strange. When the Jewish people, they got the Torah, their souls jumped out of their bodies. They couldn't take it. Usually there's 2 opposites, but when God spoke in Mount Sinai, the Kol Gadol, there was a big voice, which is higher from any limitations of spiritual and physical, and this voice continued out even to now. What happened? 1 minute. This is the end of a word here. This is without any limits of hishtalshalut, of the creation of the world at Mount Sinai, because the Creator was speaking. So therefore, spiritual and physical were equal, same thing. Therefore, davka can come, and it can come in the physical world. And again, to stress again, Judaism stresses over and over again that this physical world is potentially infinitely higher than all of the spiritual worlds that there are. That's why God put us here. And when we learn, but we have to learn the Torah. That's why God put the Torah here. And that was the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, like it says, also in the service of man. So it's all of their koach. Every human being has the power. Every Jew has the power that the Torah, which a Jew learns, should permeate also the heels. In is as nit mitzad, not because of the intellect of the Torah, the logic of the Torah, because the logic of the Torah with physical your heels are no connection whatsoever, right? The heels of the greatest Talmudic scholar in the world seemingly are the same thing as the heels of a monkey, who knows what, a heel. Nor, but this is mitzad dem elokus, but the godliness which is in the Torah, this permeates even the heels of a Jew and even the ground that those heels walk on. Was far elokus, because godliness, there's no limitations. So we see that everything is a miracle. When a person learns the Torah, when it permeates and it conquers the whole entire person until even his heels, then it says it says that the Torah is it fills up all of your 248 limbs, and it's also preserved there as the gehit, therefore preserved varum, because does their length in bechinas from lifnei kisei kavod, because the Torah comes from what's called before the throne of glory of God, which there's no forgetfulness. The Torah is preserved inside of you. There is no limitations whatsoever. Like it says, called Yosef, Lo Yosef, the voice never stopped. When a person learns Torah, when the learning Torah is in such a way, is in such a way which takes over the whole entire person, whether the intellect, the emotions, even the actions, even the heels, that is reflecting then what really happened in Mount Sinai. Lo Yosef, that nothing can stop the goodness and the love and the life force of God. That's called the tree of life. Then nothing will be forgotten. She'ein shocheach ve'ein un oichen, also that the Torah will take the person not only in the time when he's learning, but also later. Then areas when he is working in his business, when in everything that he does. Anagos, Kentik, you can recognize that this person is a person that is a Jew that learned Torah. And also the Torah which he learns will affect every physical thing that he has. B'chol darachecha, everything that he has in the world will be made a dwelling for God. So again, what did we say? What is the point that the Torah did not have an echo? So we said, first of all, to let us know that all of the Talmudic scholars and the prophets, they were speaking the word of God that was given on Mount Sinai. Number two, that the non-Jews should know that the 7 commandments that they do are directly from God to them on Mount Sinai, even now today. But number three is that the Torah that we learn today, it has the same ability as the 10 commandments back then, especially the first word of the 10 commandments, Anochi I, to permeate everything in the physical world. And that prepares the world for when Moshiach will turn the whole business on. The world will be a vessel. The Moshiach will turn it on. It'll be like they say a television, whatever, the proper vessel. And the Moshiach will turn it on. Suddenly we'll see the program. We'll see God. We'll see that God is creating everything and everything has a purpose. Through the Torah that we learn now, continuing this infinite voice that was on Mount Sinai that nothing could stop. And now let's learn the Yom Yom.